start trying to be social. Like, seriously be social. Humans were built for relationships. The importance of having a real friendship is that you get someone who's actually there for you. It can feel super, super scary, but it's so important that you learn how to talk to other people because that is going to be one of the biggest assets to your life.
What are some of the biggest struggles that you faced in middle school?
I struggled the most with my friendships. And I remember feeling really lonely and also really bullied. Like, not just lonely, but I just felt horrible because I had this group of friends who were just so dramatic. And I think that's something that I see constantly with middle school girls. I led a couple of groups of middle school girls. And one of the things that I've noticed is that there's a severe amount of unnecessary drama. And what I find is that we get caught up with fighting with each other when you actually need to be supporting each other. And I don't think that they know how to do that, and they're just learning how to do that, which makes sense because we're changing and we're figuring out the social structure. But I'd say for middle school girls, like, it's so important that you have a couple of close friends who are supporting you and you support them. Like, it's so easy to think that life is a popularity contest when it's not. Like, your friends are not there for you to compare yourself to or for you to, look down on them or to judge them or to be jealous of them. There's so much unnecessary drama. And one of the things that I've noticed when speaking to my girls is we would constantly have to, help them get over fights with each other. And they were just really struggling with, stuff that could have been going on and that was going on in their family life. And they just needed support. So that was one of the things I had noticed there.
Was there any kind of a special memory or something that comes to your mind about how you viewed yourself when you were in middle school?
I have this one special memory. So I would go over to my mom's office. She had a marketing firm, and there was this gal that she, who was one of her employees, and her name was June. And she probably was in her 50s or 60s when I met her. And I was 12 or 13, and she took me out to get coffee. And I remember this was the first time I've ever experienced this. So it was just like imprinted on my brain. And she asked me, she was just like, "What's your story? What's your purpose?" I was like, "Bro, what do you mean by that?" What? And she went on to tell me like her whole life story, and all of the, things in her childhood that made her who she was and the things that she was passionate about. And it really opened my eyes to, oh my gosh, wait, all my friends who are having a lot of drama and like, talking about boys and all these random things, like there's so much out there that you can talk about that you don't even realize. And so she was asking me about my story and my purpose. And I didn't have an answer for that because I had never thought of it. And then I also remember I got a strawberry banana smoothie and I spilled it all over her car. And I felt so bad. I was almost going to cry. But she treated me so kind. She was like, "No, no, honey, no worries. It's totally fine." And it was having someone who was so kind when you made a mistake and didn't judge you or tell you, "Oh, you're so stupid. Why would you drop that? That's my, really nice, expensive car." And, that gal, although she was decades older than me, I think that there's something there that every girl should replicate. If you're in middle school, sometimes it's important to, act like an adult, like building up skills and like relational skills so you can have better relationships is important. And so what I mean by that is, ask one of your friends, like, "Oh, what do you think your purpose is?" I don't like to be like, "Oh, don't have any drama in your life." I think you actually need to focus on something that's really positive. So that's the story that really impacted me.
So as you think about your time in middle school and also your time helping leading groups with middle school students, what's one thing that you could tell them today that might make their life different? that would change their life?
Start focusing on those one or two girls that you could build a relationship with. I think that from what I remember of being in middle school, and this is probably the same now, is that we would try to be the most popular and have like the most amount of friends. And you don't need to have the most amount of friends. That does not define your worth or your value. And like the older I get, like the more I look back on that, I'm like, that was the dumbest thing ever. Like that actually like did not matter, like in the grand scheme of things. Um, and now I have only a handful of like close friends, and they fill my cup. And I do notice that it's too much for me to have a ton of friends. That may work for a couple of girls, um, but that doesn't have to be the case for all of them. And so your relationships are going to look different than the other women that you're friends with, and that's okay.
Well, and I think a lot of times, and this is something that I'm thinking back to even my time in middle school. There's a lot of times when, when we're really young, before middle school, we have what we call concrete reasoning skills. We think in really black and white thinking. It's either everything, I'm either good or I'm bad. I'm
Mm-hmm.
at math, or and it's either one or the other. And then when we get into this stage of middle school, our brain is actually going through a giant reorganization, and it's allowing us to see things in a more abstract way, um, where things aren't necessarily black and white, but they might be somewhere in the middle. And I think one thing we do, though, is we keep hanging on to some of the black and white thinking. And one of the things I noticed in middle school, and I've noticed in working with middle schoolers myself, or with young people, is that black and white thinking, and it falls in line with some of the what you were talking about, with like there's a lot of cliques, there's a lot of popularity kind of things going on in school, and if you're not wearing the right jeans or the right shoes, or you're not wearing the right hairstyle, you're not in. If you're not in the in crowd, you're in the out crowd.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's black and white thinking, quite honestly. And it's something we need to kind of grow out of, is thinking that that's the only way to be worthy of friendships and
Yeah,
attention.
I think that it's super important for every person to kind of get in this like space where you kind of get into those clicks, but like grow out of it real fast, because it like in the long term you start realizing that they're not as important as you actually perceive them to be. And I just remember that was a huge frustration for me. Like I just remember there was these sandals that people were buying, and I bought an off brand of it, and I feel like I literally lost a friend because of that. I'm so serious.
If that was what that friend needed, was for you to have exactly the right sandals, then what kind of friendship was that long term?
Yeah, it's it's so silly.
So kind of on that note, what kind of friendship should young girls who are trying to follow Jesus, what kind of friendship should they get involved in?
A devoted one.
Go with that.
So I have a friend, and her name's Solana, and we met when I was 10. And there was a season of my life where I had I got burned by a friend, and I decided I was never going to be close with another friend again. And so I was so drama at 12. So anyways, I cut everyone off. I'm so serious. I literally like unfollowed them, by didn't talk to them. And I Solana, she kept reaching out to me, and she was we were family friends with their family, so our brothers knew each other. Um, and I would always tell her like, no, I don't really want to hang out. I'm busy. I'm tired. And like she knew something was up, so she continually just like kept trying to, you know, have a friendship with me. And I just remember opening up to her at, a year later and being like, yeah, so I'm just feeling really lonely. I'm just really struggling. And I told her, I was like, yeah, I feel like I don't really want to be like super close with you. And throughout that, she just like kept supporting me, and you could tell she was just devoted. And I also did notice she was really like picking up a lot of cues from her own family, and like learning things from what her parents were teaching her about like love. This is not always the case that every Christian family is going to be like this, because there's a lot of different types of people. But one of the things that made us like good friends was that we had the same values, and so we talked on the same playing field. And I think it is important to have friends who have different beliefs than you, but like your one or two, your three, your closest friends should probably be the ones that have the same values as you. Because I don't think another type of person would understand how to support you. Now that's a foundational level. There's a ton of other things that go on to that, but foundationally, I think that's really important. Anyway, so I could tell she's just super devoted to me. And throughout the years, because we've been friends for like a decade now, throughout all the seasons, she's just been devoted to me. And I've been devoted to her. And throughout like thick and thin, it's like, no, I'm going to stand next to you. And we've both gone through some pretty difficult things, like just aside from our friendships. And so just to know that I can come with her and she's not going to judge me. She's not going to make fun of me. She's not going to go tell other people about the stuff that's going on in my life. But she's going to be there for me. That's beautiful.
From what I'm finding out by looking online, there's been an increase in people turning towards AI for things that you would maybe go to a counselor for, or things, the friendship thing, that kind of thing. And one of the reasons they think it might be is because it seems less judgmental than what individuals can be. I think you're seeing that in not in I think all generations, even in my generation, I'm seeing more of that. People coming to my office and saying, "Well, I checked AI first before I came here." But when you think about, again, we're talking to middle school aged girls or somewhere in that area. With the rise of AI, what would you say to middle school girls about why it's important that they still have real friendships rather than leaning on something like AI?
Yeah. I think one of my biggest concerns right now is AI in this regard, because knowing what I was like in middle school after being burned by a friend, I decided I was not going to be friends with anyone, not going to be vulnerable. I know there's a lot of other girls who would follow the same principle. And the thing is, it's not sustainable, it's not healthy, and
AI,
it's not good for you.
AI, or what's not sustainable?
Cutting people
Oh,
off.
cutting people off. Okay.
Yeah. But the thing is like, this is an actual fact. Whether you believe in God or in evolution or, what, anything else, humans were built for relationships. And so to say that, oh, I don't need anyone, it's not true. And what will end up happening is you'll say that and then you'll just go to something that will substitute for it. And so a lot of people do this. Um, they'll go they'll go to AI to sort of be that relationship. And it's like sugar. You get this high and then it drops. It's not real food. It's not real sustenance for you. And so the importance of having a real friendship is that you get someone who's actually there for you. AI doesn't have any feelings. It can tell you that it feels some type of way. It's not true. Also, AI will lean towards your bias. So, what is a bias? A bias is it's essentially tunnel vision. It's very easy to focus on one thing and then you see that over and over and over and over again until you start to believe that's the only thing that's real. And what a huge problem with AI is you see it only from your perspective. And so AI just will keep reinforcing that. So you could be going down a path that's really not good for you and you don't have another perspective to compare it to. And that's another huge problem with AI, which is really dangerous.
Well, it's not going to challenge you the way a friend might. It's not going to tell you have spinach in your teeth.
No, literally, yeah.
That there it's yeah. So I think that's important. But is there a way that girls can use AI to help with their friendships?
Absolutely. I think, um, you know, one thing that I've noticed is like when I would get into an argument with a friend, it would be really heated and I didn't take time to like cool down before going to that friend. You know, let's say you had an argument with someone, um, and you just kind of talked it out with your chatbot and you just kind of cooled down. So you got some of your energy out there of like what you wanted to say to like process it. And then you go to that friend and you talk about things. I think that's a potential way where you can use it to your benefit. So AI is not all bad, but you have to realize that what you put in is what you get out. So I think when you understand, okay, AI has this sort of bias, or that it does have biases, then you can go in and use it for the positive and recognize where its negatives are at.
Well, and I think also if you have a problem, you're trying to figure out how to communicate to a friend that they hurt your feelings or something like that. You could go on to a chat bot and just say, "Hey, I've got this problem. What can I say to my friend to help restore this relationship?" You might get some advice, but I wouldn't take just that alone. I would talk to your parents, your youth leader. I would talk to somebody else, a mentor or a coach, to just kind of verify that maybe, because it's one tool, but we need to be discerning and realize that discerning means kind of using it carefully.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that really breaks that bias point where it's you have now a bunch of different information, and the Bible talks about how a wise person will have good counsel or will listen to good counsel. And it's not that AI is like necessarily bad, but it's just that you need to have a vast amount of information to discern from.
So, kind of wrapping up today, what's one important thing that you would like to really say to young girls, especially middle school age?
Start trying to be social, like seriously be social. And I say this from a personal experience. During COVID, our house got hit by a bunch of trees. We had to move away from the community I was at for my entire life. And what ended up happening was I experienced literal isolation. Like I was not around anybody for a good year or year and a half. And I developed social anxiety. So I'm well aware of that entire thing. I couldn't talk to someone without literally shaking. It's so important for you to experience as much social stimulation as you can. And growing up, I didn't have a phone. We're like always playing outside. I would play Minecraft with my siblings every Saturday, but that was very limited. And I've just noticed that so many young people are unable to communicate. And it is really scary. It can feel super, super scary, but it's so important that you learn how to talk to other people because that is going to be one of the biggest assets to your life. When you get into trouble with your relationships, when you have hard times in the future, that's going to be something to lean on, having that emotional intelligence and that ability to really talk to other people and to build close relationships. Um, like I just think that's what we're going to be doing for eternity. Like I think when we're in heaven, I mean, I don't know this, but I don't know if we're not going to be struggling the way we are now. We're really going to just talk to each other. And so I think it's something that God built us for, and we need to continually pursuing that. And I think one of the reasons why there's a huge attack on that right now is because the devil knows that it's something that's super important for humans. So we're really trying to reach you young girls, like really focus on this right now in whatever way that you can.
Well, and I think one of the things to keep in mind too is social skills are just that, they're skills. We're not born with social skills. We have to learn them from the very beginning all the way through. And so if you're struggling and you feel like you don't want to speak to people, you don't want to talk to a group, you don't want to be social because you don't know how, that's exactly how you do it.
Yeah. I embarrassed myself so many times. Like I honestly know we should just have an episode of all my embarrassing stories of how I just like completely fumbled
If
everything.
anybody wants that, let me know and we'll make sure we put that on there.
No, literally. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed this episode and let us know what you think down in the comments below. We really want to hear from you. So if you have a story that you want to share or just a personal tip or advice, let's hear it from you.
And if you may be listening to this and be a young middle school person, or you may be the parent of one or a friend of one. If you've seen this and you think it's helpful, send it to anyone who you think might be helpful. Send it to anybody. Just send it.
Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you guys soon.